think, for example, in an e-commerce setting, a poor UX is a really typical place where things like a cart abandonment might happen. If you're not designing the customer journey and the customer experience very intuitively through understanding user intent and how you want the customer to pass through that journey, I don't think we're optimizing for the right things. And designers will start to need to imagine what that workflow will start to look like when you have agents interacting with agents. So I think AI is going to creep into design in many ways. And of course, business leaders need to empower their designers with the right tools to get there. And I think things like Figma are starting to bring AI in across our stack as well to support that.
Yeah, that I would have loved to add to that, that we tend to think a lot about design, like you said, about the visual polish, but also just that the deliverable side of it, of the execution, basically something you can sprinkle on top, right? And that's not really easy to just add design to something, right? So it's good to have design as part of the process, part of the actual workflow of delivering the thing that you want to build. And so that's a big thing to think about. Like, how do we bring people to understand that design is that messy middle, the friction, the conversation, the trade-off, the understanding that sometimes, me and Alex, we can disagree on what we want to deliver, but the argument, the conversation, and the decision that comes from that will be the actual deliverable. And that's really where design comes in.
Fantastic, yeah. And look, of course, we're going for a bit of a productivity crisis at the moment. We have done probably since probably the best part of a decade. Are we trying to, we've got this amazing emerging technology, advanced technology, are we trying to retrofit it to systems that aren't really designed for it? And is that the problem we're facing?
I think there's some truth to that. In some cases, we are bolting on, shall we say, AI to
Yeah.
existing tools and existing processes like that. I think there's cases where that is occurring. But I do think in general, what we're seeing is organizations earnestly trying to augment their tool sets and add useful features to their platforms. So to make the process of the experience of using them more seamless and more effective, help the user do what they're attempting to achieve. And I do think that businesses and teams are really navigating this transition together and that learning and deciding when to apply that technology and when not to. In some cases, I think that means the task automation alone, like focus on the work, like execution. But others, it means this might be an engine for growth. Here at Figma, one thing we talk a lot about is a lot of what we see at the moment is focused on speed, like making you build things more quickly. And that is useful. It's very useful. Being more efficient with the resources you have is important. But building the right thing is very important. So going in the right direction is quite key. But then we run into another risk, and that is that if everyone is using the same LLMs, the same models, and they're building everything quickly and they're all competing and moving in the same direction, then where does the average, sorry, what does the average then start to look like? Everything starts to feel similar. And so that's where we think of this as like, where is the differentiation? So we think that building amazing products, great products, requires all the great things that design brings to the table. But where the middle of that Venn diagram is of speed, direction, differentiation is where we want to focus.
And to add to that, if you have speed but you have no direction, how do you know you're not driving towards a wall, right? So it's very easy to go straight forward without knowing that you're going in the right direction. And also, how do Alex put beautifully here, if LLMs are great at doing the same and average and thinking about that interpolation side of things, right? We have to
Yeah.
come in as designers and just product builders and people and be good at the extrapolation side of things, right? Who is going to come up with the next new thing if all that we're building are the averages of other things that already exist, right? So we really have to consider that. We really have to think about, we can be more productive, yes. We can accelerate the ends of the production and make them faster.